Yes, the witness may be sworn in.
As the court pleases, my lady. Your full names, Captain?
Christian Mangena.
Christian Mangena, my lady. Do you have any objection to take a prescribed oath?
I have no objection.
No objection. Do you consider the oath binding onto your conscience?
Yes, sir.
If so, do you swear that the evidence you will be giving will be the truth and the whole truth and nothing else but the truth? If that is so, lift your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Sworn in, my lady.
Thank you very much.
It's good. Mr. Mangena, you're a captain, South African Police Service, and you stationed at the Forensic Science Laboratory. Is that correct?
That's correct, my lady.
And you're attached to the ballistics section.
That's correct, my lady.
How many years of experience do you have in the South African Police?
It's 20 years in the police, my lady.
How many years experience do you have in the ballistics section?
19 years at the ballistic section, my lady.
You qualified as a ballistic expert when?
My lady, I received an in-service training from 1995 until 1998. From 1998, I was qualified as an expert.
And since then, you've been working on scenes?
That's correct, my lady.
Captain, for purposes of your evidence, you compiled the report.
That's correct, my lady. I compiled reports on this matter.
You have the report with you, Captain? Have a look at this.
I have this report, my lady.
Beg leave to hand up the report of the witness as Exhibit BV. Captain, how did you get involved in this matter?
My lady, on the 7th of March 2003, I was called by my Brigadier Holz, in his office, and he instructed me to take over the case, to examine the case and to reconstruct the incident that took place in this incident.
Before we go there, the training you received, you've indicated in your report in paragraph 2, am I correct?
That's correct, my lady.
In paragraph 3, you indicated that you received the door.
That's correct, my lady. On the 7th, after my brigadier informed me to take over the case, I received the exhibit door, which was sealed in a body bag with serial number 30002.
And photographs were taken of this door in the body bag, what you could see on photograph 1 and 2, am I right?
That's correct, my lady.
And you were asked to do what?
I was asked to examine the bullet at the door for the bullet trajectories and terminal ballistics, which means the effect of the bullet on the target. Now, the bullet holes on the door itself.
Now, when you received the door on the 7th, you started with your investigation on the same day.
That's correct, my lady.
And the first thing you did was to check for the presence of propellant powder particles.
That's correct, my lady. What I did is I opened and I checked the bullet holes, and from there I checked if there's any presence of propellant powder on the door, so that I can, if there's the need for distance determination, I can use a pattern that is found on the door for the distance determination.
Let us just turn to page 5 of 54 of your report, photograph 3. When you received the door, was it assembled? Was it in the condition it's there, or were there panels missing?
No, my lady. When I received the door, the panels were out. Some of the panels were out. Now this is after I have assembled, put the panels back into the door frame.
And you took this photograph?
That's correct, my lady.
Now, you then saw the bullet holes and you marked them.
That's correct, my lady. I saw 4 bullet holes on the door, and I marked them A, B, C, and D.
Now, one can see at photograph 4 where you marked the bullet holes.
This one, photograph 4 shows the door panels with the bullet holes marked A, B, C, and D.
And photo 5 is a close-up to indicate the height
That's
of
correct,
these
my
bullet
lady.
holes.
Now on photo 4 and photo 5, these are the bullet holes, but this is on the entrance side of the door. Now meaning this is the side where the bullet perforated the door.
And on 6 and 7, photograph 6 and 7.
Photograph 6 and 7 is on the other side of the door, on the side where the bullet exited the door.
But you kept the numbering.
I kept the same markings on the bullet holes, A, B, C, and D.
So where on photograph 4 there's A, and on photograph 6 there's A, that is the same bullet hole.
It's the same bullet hole, yes, my lady.
And the same for B, C, and D.
That's correct, my lady.
Then on the 8th of March, you visited the scene.
That's correct, my lady. I was requested that to take the door and go back to the crime scene to reconstruct the incident with the scene.
And you still had the door with you,
The door was still with me by then, my lady.
and you then took the door to the scene, and you've identified the scene in paragraph 7 of your report.
That's correct, my lady.
Now, in paragraph 7, you indicate that the request came from Captain van Aert and that Warrant Officer van Staden was present assisting with taking of photographs.
That's correct, my lady. The request came from the investigating officer, Captain van Aert, and Warrant Officer van Staden was there to point out the crime scene for me.
Now, who else was present on that particular day?
My lady, on the said day, there were several members who were there. I remember the private expert, Mr. Volmarans was there. Mr. Van der Westhuizen was also there. And there were also members from the defense who were also the crime scene with us. And Colonel Van der Nest was there with us, and Colonel Vermeulen was there with us.
Then in drafting your report and coming to your conclusions, in paragraph 9, you took photograph of the scene as you found it. Am I correct?
That's correct, my lady. This photograph number 9 is the photograph of the crime scene, of the bathroom. Now what I do is, before I can examine the crime scene, I'll take the photos of the crime scene. Originally, that's how I found the crime scene on that specific day. Now, photograph 9 and 10 are the photographs of the bathroom and how I found the bathroom on that specific day before I started the examinations.
Then the door was replaced. One can see that in paragraph 10.
That's correct, my lady. Colonel Vermeulen assisted me in replacing the door to the frame that separates the bathroom and the toilet.
Was the door in the same position as it was before it was removed?
My lady, the door hinges were placed on the holes which are found on the frame, and we used the same screws that they found at the crime scene to replace the door. So the door was replaced exactly the same way that it was before it was removed.
And then you marked the bullet holes again.
Yes, my lady, I marked the bullet holes the same as they were marked the previous day at the office.
And you took measurements of the height of the bullet holes from the bathroom floor.
That's correct, my lady. I took the measurements of the bullet hole on the door. And bullet hole mark was about 93.5 centimeters from the floor. And bullet hole mark B was...
Let's just say, so bullet hole A, one can see on photograph 13, that was 93.5.
It was 93.5, yes, my lady.
And B?
What is that? That is the
height from the bathroom.
Yes.
From the bathroom floor, am I correct?
That's correct.
But we can see that on photograph 13.
That's correct, ma'am.
Then one can also see bullet hole B on photograph 14.
That's correct, my lady.
And how high was that?
104.3 centimeters.
Then one can see on photograph 15.
Photograph 15 is bullet hole mark C, which is 99.4 centimeters.
And then photo 16.
Photo 16 is bullet hole mark D, which is 97.3 centimeters.
You then went into the toilet.
That's correct, my lady.
And you noticed marks on the tiles.
That's correct, my lady. I noticed the marks on the tiles, whereby it's on two different walls. And between the two walls is at the corner. Now the bullet hole or the ricochet mark, the first one is a ricochet mark, which I've marked E.
So
and then
E you refer to as a ricochet mark?
That's correct, my lady.
Yes. One can see that on photograph 17.
Yes, you can see it's on photograph 17.
So that's a ricochet mark. And what does F indicate?
F is the impact point of the bullet, of the same bullet.
So what you're saying is it ricocheted from E and the impact point was F.
That's correct, my lady.
And you also took the measurements.
In simple language, just what? In simple language, what does that mean?
In simple language, my lady, it's the bullet ricochet on the first wall on mark E,
Yes.
and then deflected to the
It means
second
it
wall.
hits the first and then?
It first hit the wall and then deflect to another wall to that side. So creating both holes.
Thank you.
And Captain, you also then took the measurements of the height of those particular marks.
That's correct, my lady. I took the measurements of the two holes.
And E would be how high?
E would be 89 centimeters.
And F, Captain?
F will be 87.5 centimeters, my lady.
But Captain, on photograph 17 you also marked a mark that was on the wall, and you numbered it as G.
That's correct, my lady. G, what I've marked G is, I could see the traces of lead on the tire. Now, this gives the impression that it's a bullet that has fractured. It has hit an object and it has fractured, and part of it, because it's lost a lot of energy on it. So it only made a mark on the tile. It didn't break the tile, but it only left the traces of it on the tile.
And you marked that G.
I've marked it G, yes, ma'am.
And photograph 18.
Photograph 18 shows all three of them, marks E, F, and G.
And photograph 19, which shows the measuring tape.
Is a close photo of the three marks.
And 20.
Photograph 20 is of E and F. Photograph 21 is a close photo of ricochet mark E.
And photo 22.
Photo 22 is a close-up photo of mark F, or bullet hole mark F.
You marked those points out on the scene.
That's correct, my lady. I've marked all these points.
And photograph 23.
Photograph 23, it's G.
And what you now explain to court, you've captured in paragraph 12 of your report.
In paragraph 12 of my report is, during my examination of the crime scene, I was assisted by Warrant Officer Van Staring in taking up the photos, because I couldn't mark the scene and then reconstruct the scene and take photos. So I asked him to assist me in taking up the crime scene photos.
And in 12.1, you indicated the height of the bullet holes from the bathroom floor. And in 12.2, the bullet marks E, F, and G from the toilet floor.
On the wall, yes, that's correct, my lady.
Then in paragraph 13, what did you do then?
Now in paragraph 13, I used the yellow steel rod in illustrating the direction of the bullet and the angle of it. Now these steel rods illustrate the trajectory of the bullet as it perforates the door into the toilet side.
Now, in terms of the size of the rods, how did you decide on what size of rods to use?
My lady, I looked at the bullet holes, and if I use a thinner rod, it's going to be a problem because they're not going to be stiff on the holes, and they can change direction, they can give you the wrong directions. Now I had to use the size that fits properly in those bullet holes, so they can become stiff in the holes, then they can give you the correct angle to measure.
And you then put the rods through the holes, and one can see that on photograph 24.
That's correct, my lady.
Yeah.
On photograph 24 and 25, it's on the bathroom side, on the entrance side of the door.
And you have measured the angle of the rods as it was put in the door.
My lady, what I did is I checked on the bullet holes inside. Inside the toilet, there's only one bullet hole, or bullet ricochet mark, or bullet mark. Now, meaning there's 4 shots fired. And out of the 4 shots, it's only one bullet that has hit the wall inside the toilet. Now, it means the 3 other bullets have disappeared between the door of the toilet and the wall. This indicates that these 3 bullets most probably has hit the target or somebody inside the toilet. Now, in this instance, it's going to be difficult for me to determine the exact angle of the trajectories. Now, what I did is I've used the one that has perforated the door and then hit the wall inside the toilet. With that one, I could determine the angle. Now, with the angle of could determine this one, it was an angle of between 5 and 6 degrees, a little bit downward.
Okay. Let us, we will get to that. Let us just go to, so 25 shows the rods that you've inserted. 26 would be the exit side of the bullet hole inside the toilet.
Photo 26 is the bullet trajectories inside the toilet, my lady.
27,
27 is still the same rod, but inside the toilet from a different angle.
now in 28,
28 is two rods from bullet hole mark A and bullet hole mark B. Now with bullet hole mark B, I could determine that it's in line with the bullet holes mark E on the wall.
so you were able to put a rod through bullet hole B and link it with E
Bullet
inside.
hole mark E on the wall, my lady.
And in photograph 29,
And photograph 29 is, I use the angle finder and determine the angle of the incident.
so once you've linked B with E, you determine the angle,
Determine the angle of it.
and that one can see on photograph 29 and a close-up in photo 30.
That's correct, my lady.
But that's not all you used. You also used the laser.
My lady, I also use the laser and determine the angle. Now with the laser, I had to extend the trajectory backwards into the toilet, the bathroom. Because if I use the steel rods in this, now immediately you start using a longer steel rods, they become skew in the center. They start to change the shape. Now with the laser rod, you know that the laser is going to be straight. It can never bend, it can never change direction. So I extended it backwards towards the wall of the toilet, of the bathroom. My lady.
For that, you use a tripod.
I use the tripod in holding the laser, my lady.
So what do you do?
I took the tripod, adjust the tripod, put the laser on the tripod, and with a laser beam, I directed it straight to the bullet hole with the same measurements of with the same angle of that I found with the steel rods. And with that one, I could determine that from where I put the laser to bullet hole mark B, it went through bullet hole mark B on the door and straight to bullet hole mark E on the wall.
So in photograph 31, we see the tripod with a laser, and where the laser is pointed at E.
That's correct, my lady. With this one, what I did is I've opened the door after setting the laser on it.
In 32,
Photograph 32, I closed the door and the laser beam went through the bullet hole mark B.
33 just shows is that the inside of the toilet?
Photo 33 shows the laser beam through the bullet hole mark B on the door into the toilet.
34,
34 is a close-up photo of the laser beam through the hole into the toilet.
35 is a different angle, but one can see where the laser beam hit against the wall. Is that correct?
That's correct, my lady.
And a close-up one can see at photograph 36.
Photograph 36 is where the laser beam is at the wall on bullet hole mark E, and it deflects to the side of the wall of bullet hole mark F.
Even the light deflected.
Even the light deflected, my lady.
You also then used the angle finder on the laser.
That's correct, my lady. I've put the angle finder on top of the lasers, and I've measured the height of the laser at that point.
Now, one can see at photograph 38 the height of the laser.
The height of the laser was 130 centimeters from the ground.
In photograph 39 and 40, what does that indicate?
Photograph 39 and photograph 40 shows the angle finder the angle that I could determine, which is between 5 and 6 degrees.
Downwards.
It's a downward angle, my lady.
But you also measured the distance of the laser from the toilet door.
That's correct, my lady. I've measured the distance from the toilet door to the center of the tripod where the laser is positioned, and it was 220 centimeters.
And one can see that more clearly at photograph 42. And photograph 43, am I right?
That's correct, my lady.
Now, apart from being at the scene, did you also gather other information about the scene?
That's correct, my lady. I did so.
What did you do?
Now, firstly, I have requested the crime scene photos. So that I can see the crime scene, how the crime scene was originally when the photographer arrives at the crime scene. I wanted to see the position of all the exhibits at the crime scene, position of the scene itself, how was it? Because when reconstructing the crime scene, you have to get the idea of the whole crime scene, how the crime scene was positioned, if there's any chairs, if there's any furniture, anything that can be moved in the crime scene, which might have a role in reconstructing the crime scene. Now, I had to request all the crime scene photos from Warrant Officer Van Staden, and he gave me a copy of the crime scene photos that he had.
Now, that one can see he used the photograph indicated on photo 44.
That's correct, Madi. That's the original photo of the crime scene as I received from Warrant Officer Van Staden.
When you arrived on the crime scene, what was absent from the toilet?
My lady, inside the toilet, the magazine rack was not there when I arrived at the crime scene.
But that one can see
But on the photos, on the crime scene photos, I could see it.
at 45. Now, then you were also interested in the position of the fired cartridges.
That's correct, my lady. I wanted to see the position of the cartridge cases on the scene.
And that you got from photograph 46, 47.
That's correct, my lady.
And others, one was visible in photograph 44. At the coast.
That's correct, my lady, yes.
But you also wanted, you also looked at what you have there, photograph 48. What is that?
Photograph 48 is the bullet fragments which were found inside the toilet, my lady. Now, when I look at the crime scene photos, the position of the bullet fragments marked B4, they were situated just underneath the magazine rack inside the toilet.
Now, I don't think that would be a dispute, Captain, but in the, my lady, in the album that we have, slide 187 is the photograph that was used in 48. Photograph 187. You also needed to know what the position of the deceased was.
That's correct, my lady. I could see blood on the crime scene, but I wanted also to know the position of the deceased.
And how did you manage to get that?
I got a photo of the position of the deceased on the crime scene.
Were you interested in the injuries that she's sustained?
My lady, for me to reconstruct the scene, I have to see the injuries sustained by the deceased. And I have to see the position of all the injuries sustained so that I can reconstruct the incident.
And that, how did you manage to get that?
I requested the post-mortem photos and the clothing of the deceased. The clothing that she was wearing during the incident, my lady.
And you included a photograph, photo 50, in your album. Why is that important?
My lady, the photograph 50 is the vest that was worn by the deceased. Now in this vest, I had to check on the possible bullet holes on the vest. Now what I could find that there was holes on the right hand side of the vest. And there was also body tissues on the right chest of the vest, my lady.
And you also included what you explained to the court now, photographs indicating that in photograph 51 and
photograph 51 and 52 shows the bullet holes in the vest worn by the deceased during the incident, my lady.
You also then made use of post-mortem photographs 53 and 54.
That's correct, my lady. Now, 53 shows the face of the deceased, just to confirm that this is the right body that I'm talking about, the body of the deceased that was from the crime scene. And then photo number 54 indicating the position of the wounds sustained by the deceased.
And you also then wanted to know a bit more about the specific wounds, and that you established by consulting photographs 55 and 56 as you've got in your report.
That's correct, my lady. On photograph number 55 is a close photo of the wound on the right upper arm of the deceased, and it has characteristics of an entrance wound. And on the back of the same arm, as shown on photograph number 56, that's the exit site of the same bullet on the same arm of the deceased.
Photograph 57.
Photograph 57 shows the position of the wound on the hip of the deceased.
And also the height of...
I wanted the height of the wound also. In photograph 58 is a close-up photo of the same wound, the wound on the hip.
Photograph 59.
Photograph 59 is a bruise on the chest of the deceased. There was an impact on the deceased chest, but the projectile did not penetrate the deceased chest, my lady.
And in photograph 60, that's a close-up of this injury you're talking about.
That's correct, my lady. Photograph 60 is a close-up photo of the bruise on the chest.
But in photograph 61, the height of that bruise from the heel of the deceased was measured.
That's correct, my lady.
And photograph 62, why was that important for you?
Photograph 62, it shows the bruises on the back of the deceased here. Now, when you look at the photos, if you don't relate the body of the deceased, you will never understand what caused the bruise on the back of the deceased.
And still dealing with this bruise, you used the close-up that one can see in photograph 63.
That's correct, my lady.
And in 66?
In photograph 64.
Yeah, 64.
Photograph 64 is a bullet wound between the...
Where's 64?
On my report, it indicates 66, the next photograph. Just have a look at the one in there. Page 49 of 54.
Normally, I think typing it is supposed to be 64.
I request that it just be changed to,
Yes, but then you'll have to change all the others.
that would follow on this one,
Yes.
Milady. May I request that you do that?
So the one marked 473 is photo 64.
That's 64, Milady, at page 49 of 54.
Yes.
That's marked now as photo 66. What is that, Captain?
Supposed to be 64.
Yeah, 64, yes. And what is that, does that indicate?
This indicates the wound sustained by the deceased in between the middle finger and the pointing finger on the right, on the left hand.
Then the photo at the top of page 50 you have as
Okay, that's
65.
65 on this one.
Lady, may I kindly request that it be changed to 65
Yes.
and the following photograph 66.
66.
Then photograph 65.
Right, photograph 65 shows the two wounds in the head of the deceased, which are positioned on the right hand side just above the right ear. Now the photograph towards the front is the entrance wound, the bullet entrance wound, and then the one towards the back is the exit bullet wound, my lady. It's shown on photograph 66. The one on the left hand side on the photo is the entrance, and the one on the right hand side is the exit wound.
Then, Captain, in paragraph 17, you were present at Economics Technologies where Dr. Nolte took measurements of the accused.
That's correct, my lady. My lady, before I can explain that. For me to reconstruct the whole crime scene, I requested a copy of the accused version of the incident, whereby I'll use it as my benchmark in reconstructing the crime scene. Now, when I look at the version of the accused, he stated that when he fired the shot, he was not wearing the prosthesis, so he was on his thumb. Now, in this incident, for me to reconstruct the crime scenes, I had to get the height of the accused so that I can be able to determine whether he was wearing the prosthesis or he was not wearing the prosthesis. That's when I requested that I'm going to need the measurements of the accused, and it was taken to Economics Technologies in Centurion for the measurements.
And you were present when those were done?
That's correct, my lady. I was present when they were done.
And would you indicate to us what the measurements were?
My lady, the measurement that I could determine there was the height of the accused with the prosthesis was 184 centimeters. And the height of the accused without the prosthesis was 155 centimeters. Then the shoulder level of the accused, meaning up to the shoulder, with the prosthesis was 156 centimeters. The height of the accused's shoulder without the prosthesis was 123 centimeters. the elbow level here, my lady, of the accused with the prosthesis was 126 centimeters. And the elbow level of the accused without the prosthesis was 96 centimeters. And then the arm length of the accused in this position up to here, it was 66 centimeters. And the prosthesis that the accused was using on that day was about 62 centimeters, my lady.
What you've just demonstrated before the last sentence, the arm length was to grip.
Arm length to a grip.
Yes.
If he's folding, it's like if he's holding a firearm with a fist up to here.
Thank you.
66 centimeters, my lady.
Lady, we will be getting to the conclusions of the report. May I perhaps convince the court to take the adjournment now, seeing that we've sat till 3:30.
Is there any objection to this request?
Sorry, my lady.
Any objection to this request?
No, ma'am.
We'll Yes, the witness may be sworn in.
As the court pleases, my lady. Your full names, Captain?
Christian Mangena.
Christian Mangena, my lady. Do you have any objection to take a prescribed oath?
I have no objection.
No objection. Do you consider the oath binding onto your conscience?
Yes, sir.
If so, do you swear that the evidence you will be giving will be the truth and the whole truth and nothing else but the truth? If that is so, lift your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Sworn in, my lady.
Thank you very much.
It's good. Mr. Mangena, you're a captain, South African Police Service, and you stationed at the Forensic Science Laboratory. Is that correct?
That's correct, my lady.
And you attached to the ballistic section.
That's correct, my lady.
How many years of experience do you have in the South African Police?
It's 20 years in the police, my lady.
How many years experience do you have in the ballistic section?
19 years at the ballistic section, my lady.
You qualified as a ballistic expert when?
My lady, I received an in-service training from 1995 until 1998 From 1998, I was qualified as an expert.
And since then, you've been working on scenes?
That's correct, my lady.
Captain, for purposes of your evidence, you compiled the report?
That's correct, my lady. I've compiled reports on this matter.
You have the report with you, Captain? Have a look at this.
I have this report, my lady.
Beg leave to hand up the report of the witness as Exhibit BV. Captain, how did you get involved in this matter?
My lady, on the 7th of March 2003, I was called by my Brigadier Host in his office, and he instructed me to take over the case, to examine the case and to reconstruct the incident that took place in this incident.
Before we go there, the training you received, you've indicated in your report in paragraph 2, am I correct?
That's correct, my lady.
In paragraph 3, you indicated that you received the door.
That's correct, my lady. On the 7th, after my brigadier informed me to take over the case,